Hello, welcome to the 4 building blocks of engagement and retention. This is another of the Inclusive Managers Learning series sessions, and I am DeEtta Jones. I wanted today talk a little bit about a topic or a couple of topics that often are asked about. People really want to know, how is it that we increase engagement and how is it that we promote retention within our employees? And a lot of times when people are asking about effective retention strategies, they're really focused specifically on people from very targeted demographics, women of color, people of color, women, people with disabilities, etc. And so really being able to think about how it is that you might want to strategically engage your practices is going to be hopefully an important opportunity for you today. So let me start off by telling you a little bit about myself. I am DeEtta Jones. I'm the founder and principal of DeEtta Jones and Associates. DeEtta Jones and Associates is a consulting firm that offers management training and organizational effectiveness consulting. And I personally have been working in the fields of leadership, inclusive practices, organizational effectiveness for about 25 years. I've worked with organizations all over the world and with leaders and people who are aspiring leaders all over the world. So I'm really excited to continue to cultivate my own passion for helping people develop effective managerial practices at individual levels, but also then to break those practices to your organization in order to make sure that our organizations are as effective as possible, but also really mirroring our values, our espoused values, particularly as those values continue to be surfaced and interrogated and sometimes changed in the way that we express those over time. So let's talk about a little bit about what's so important about engaged employees. A couple of things that are useful for you, right, when you start thinking about the word engagement. And engagement is cool, but engagement is just not about getting back the results of your engagement survey, your annual or every other year engagement survey. Engagement is really an opportunity for you to help your employees and yourself flourish. And flourishing is more than just feeling good. Flourishing really has important results that will drive your organization, that will drive your strategy, that will help your organization and the people in it feel more resilient and be able to manage the kind of onslaught of changes that all of us are dealing with, and that will continue to be part of our future. So engaged employees, they bring their A game to work. Maybe not every day is an A day, but there's a lot of B+ and A- kind of days. Engaged employees try, right? They care. There's a level of commitment that's not just important at their individual level, but it's also infectious. And so it's really important to remember that and to look for ways to help people bring their full A game to your workplace every day. Engaged employees seek innovative solutions. Everybody loves to talk about innovation in the workplace and how important it is to think about diversity as a channel, as a mechanism for increasing opportunities for more innovation and more creativity in our workplace. Engaged employees seek solutions that are unique, that come from unexpected places. They stay in there a little bit longer to interrogate, to challenge their own ideas, to challenge the ideas they're thinking of others, to look for solutions that are going to leave them and others feeling particularly satisfied, which is where innovative solutions really come from. Engaged employees are more resilient. This is incredibly important. Engaged employees are able to bounce back when times get hard, when things don't work out exactly the way we wish they would have the first time, which is going to happen. All of us have had experiences of setbacks or of disappointments. Engaged employees get back in there because they have a connection to the organization, there's a commitment, there's a rapport, and there's a stick-to-itiveness that's incredibly important. Engaged employees positively represent your brand. So many of us, especially as we think about our strategy for entering new markets, for creating collaborations in different communities, for making sure that we are telling our stories in ways that are positive, we cannot overlook or undervalue the power of people in your own workplace telling the story of what a positive experience it is for them. Engaged employees deliver high quality customer service. Again, they care, they see themselves as brand ambassadors, but they also get a sense of satisfaction from delivering high quality services to customers. They're motivated to take on new challenges and work through the tough stuff, which is what we always need, right? We need to have people who can go the extra mile and who can see through the difficulties that might present themselves right now and be able to keep the end game, the long game in mind. Engaged employees, and this is where recruitment starts to really come into, retention really comes into play, they stay with the organization longer. They have a commitment over time. They try to make it work. There is a satisfaction associated with working in your organization. Even when they do leave, they are full contributors while they're there. And so a lot of you probably have the experience of having colleagues around you or seeing employees who might be there, they might be retained, but they're not necessarily productive. They're not necessarily contributing to a positive workplace culture. They're not necessarily driving innovation. And so engaged employees are contributing in ways that are positive and meaningful and adding value while they are there. So even if they do end up shifting to another organization, then they are left your organization in a better place because of their contributions. And then this one cannot also be overlooked. They contribute to successful hires and onboarding. Engaged employees are wonderful brand ambassadors for potential new hires. They're able to tell the story from an authentic first-person point of view that is going to be incredibly important for your recruitment processes and also as you onboard new employees. So the benefits of engagement are really important for you to think about and to take seriously and to strategize around. So let's look at some of the building blocks associated with engagement and retention. In my opinion, there are a couple of building blocks that are really useful to think about. One of them is related to community. Community is incredibly important for people to feel a sense of authentic connection to other people in the organization and to feel a sense of belonging. Now, this might seem kind of touchy-feely or just a nice really nice to have, but it's not necessarily the bottom line. It absolutely is the bottom line. People need to feel a sense of connection to other people. Humans are social animals. We care about being cared about. We care about others around us. And so making sure that there's opportunities for people to feel a sense of community with their colleagues and in their workplace is incredibly important. Acknowledgement. People need to understand that they are valued and that they are appreciated for their contributions. And I'll go so far as to also say that they should be understood to be appreciated for their unique contributions, especially if you have an effective equity, diversity, and inclusion strategy, and you actively seek to bring in diverse voices and perspectives and lived experiences, then it's really important to understand that sometimes a unique contribution, something that is different than the way that we've done it around here in the past, is something that we need to find ways to cultivate and to acknowledge, to celebrate. The next one is access. People need to understand that they have access to mentors, to champions, people who are going to clear roadblocks out of the way, people who are going to advocate on their behalf, help them promote their ideas, help them strategize to get new ideas and or their contributions to a place of higher visibility than it would be otherwise. They also need to have networks. So in some organization, there are really robust employee resource groups. There are other organizations that have really solid mentoring programs. All of those are fantastic, but all of them need to be kind of ongoing and happening in formal and informal ways, and in ways that are kind of layering into the experience of employees. And then the fourth pillar, or the fourth building block, is really about promotion. People need to have opportunities for advancement, and they need to know what those pathways are. And those pathways need to be clear, and they need to be unencumbered. They can't be so complicated that people are exhausted just trying to figure out how it is that they can increase their profile or their opportunity for contribution in your organization. And then the two major through threads that I have underscored here is that all of this is enabled by a really solid leadership culture that's driven by people in executive roles who have a philosophy that is consistent and that drives strategy within the organization. And that is coupled with really thinking about and making sure that you have systems and structures and managerial effectiveness in place. So systems and structures are things like our human resource processes, how it is that we communicate, how it is that we look at people's promotion and performance records and make sure that there are clear opportunities to connect the dots between performance and contributions to the organization and advancement, for example, that there are feedback loops and channels in place that are allowing people to make course corrections and get the kind of developmental help that they need, and also set performance goals that they're able to achieve and be acknowledged for. And management is really about what I describe as that evenness across the managerial swath of the organization, where managers understand that they are, that you are, if you are a manager, the person who has the highest level of touch associated with the engagement conversation that we're having right now. Managers touch employees more than anyone else. On a day-to-day basis, you are sitting there problem solving, rolling up your sleeves, elbow to elbow, giving feedback, having tough conversations, ideating. You are the ones who have the most opportunity for having a positive impact on engagement. And it's not only about your own effectiveness or your own inclusive philosophy. It's important that managers across the organization have shared methodology, shared philosophy, and a kind of an evenness that allows for equity to exist across sometimes very distributed groups of employees. And then some of the things across the top of this image are associated with really making sure that we are, in addition to the, paying attention to the 4 building blocks, also making sure that we are helping to cultivate how people build and leverage their relationships. That we are looking for opportunities to either identify and or reduce the negative impact of bias in some of our processes and systems, and that we are in an ongoing and systematic way nurturing a culture of inclusion through educational experiences, but also through interrogating and making adjustments to some of our systems and practices. So what are some of the enablers that are essential to making sure that we have the kind of engagement and retention that we seek in our organizations? Well, I always start off with leadership. I am a person who's committed my life and my career to studying and to nurturing effective leaders and leadership philosophy that really enables the kind of inclusive workplace environments that we want and that lead us to the production and the constructive outcomes that we seek. So what that requires is people who are in leadership roles, formal and informal, to really understand that it is their responsibility to not just state the values, but also stay the course, to be champions, to demonstrate proficiency when it comes to inclusivity and when it comes to really nurturing a culture that represents the values that you espouse. You need to have inclusive managers. This is a skill set. This isn't a nicety. Inclusive managers are managers who understand the practices associated with helping people to bring out their best, to bring out their unique voice, to leverage the differences, and also come to common ground across groups of people that are going to allow your organization and their teams to be as effective as possible. This is not just about technical expertise at the individual level. That's called individual contributors. Inclusive managers are people who understand that their primary job is to help other people in the organization who report to them perform at their highest level and with the most sophisticated level of engagement possible. You need to have a culture strategy. So in addition to a business strategy, you need to have a strategy in place that really takes into consideration the fact that you have an active organizational culture that requires attention and requires ongoing kind of nurturing and systematic review. And it's going to need people who are constantly thinking about how to nurture and build and sustain the organizational culture that will continue to allow you to keep high levels of engagement and also keep your high potential employees. You need to have an integrated learning process and expectations for ongoing learning. The same way that we are consistently learning about new technology or about new market trends, we also need to make sure that we are developing really robust skills associated with inclusivity, associated with human behavior and performance, associated with making sure that people understand how motivation works and how to build in processes and practices that help people get through organizational change. So really sophisticated organizational change management and leading change practices and understanding as well. Another enabler is really setting performance goals and making sure that people understand what the definition of success is and how it is that they will be measured. And then making sure that there is accountability in place for those performance goals being met, and that those accountabilities be present at the leadership level and at the managerial levels first and at least, and then that they be cascaded into the entire workforce. And then finally, and last but not least, you need to have a solid rewards and recognition process in place and processes that also allow for differentiation across employee groups and across the different things that are going to be motivating for your different kinds of employees coming from different life experiences. And so some of the questions that you might ask yourself as you think through the practices that you currently have in place related to leadership are leaders in your organization educated and equipped to be spokespeople and champions? If not, what are some of the things that you can invest in and start doing to help make sure that your leaders are ready to go and really ready to take the helm? To what extent is inclusion being positioned as a core skill set? Inclusion is not just a value. Inclusion is a core skill set. Are your leaders equipped with the skills, the demonstrable skills related to creating and cultivating an inclusive workplace environment? Do leaders and others have clear expectations for performance? Right? What does it look like when we're doing it well? How is it that we know what that is and articulate that and then hold ourselves to that standard? Related to engagement, a few questions that you might ask. Are there needs of employees from various groups regularly solicited? And if so, how? Then how are those expressed needs being addressed? So just surveying or understanding what different groups need and what your workforce needs is one thing, but do you also have a strategy for addressing those needs, those expressed needs, in ways that really clearly tie back to the expression itself so that people understand that the information that you're gathering is informing action, right? Which creates kind of a virtuous learning cycle, and it also helps to build a culture of trust and transparency in your organization. The final question related to engagement is, what strategic and ongoing efforts are in place to nurture community and a sense of belonging? What do you do to help nurture community and a sense of belonging? Some organizations hold regular town hall meetings where there is a lot of kind of lunch and learn and also other opportunities for people to share information about interesting, innovative practices that are happening in the organization. Some organizations have regular celebrations where people get together in informal ways in order to really get to know each other. Some organizations have open houses in different departments so that different departments can share with their colleagues from across the organization what they do and what they're most proud of. Some have newsletters where they spotlight employees who are doing things that are particularly interesting or that particularly represent the values of the organization, or that have a breakthrough sort of opportunity for the organization overall, and that could serve to inspire other people. What are some of the things that you're already doing? And how are you promoting those, and how are you making sure that those are sustained over time? And then related to retention, a couple of questions that you might ask yourself is, are employees from various groups advancing at desired rates? How do you know that? Right? Not just overall, do you have people advancing, but are you really paying attention to the breakdown across your different demographic groups in your organization? Are there clear and uncomplicated pathways available for promotion? To the extent that some groups may not be advancing at the rates desired or that you think are possible, what are some of the things that you might do to clear the pathway, to bring down some of the barriers, to really look for bias in the system of promotion that could really help to allow people to advance in ways that really recognize their contribution, but also mitigate bias in your current systems or structures. And then how is employee recognition customized to account for differences? There are all sorts of differences that we have to take into consideration in a contemporary workplace environment, right? Some people need to be able to telecommute once or twice a week. Some people need to be able to have 4-day work weeks. Some people need to be able to have specific educational experiences available for them, or continuous professional development opportunities available, and they find that particularly enriching. Some people really want to be able to take on leadership challenges or a role as leading a task force or a committee that positions them for more visibility. How are your rewards and recognition programs really allowing for the individualization that's necessary to take into consideration the different lived experiences and different motivators that different kinds of employees bring to your organization? If this is helpful for you to think about engagement and retention and think about the strategy and some of the practices that you have in place in your current workplace, and also you are invested in ongoing learning and ongoing development and ongoing contribution to your organization's effectiveness, I encourage you to take a look at our online program, the Inclusive Managers Toolkit. The Inclusive Managers Toolkit is a 10-week online program that is very high touch. Every week you will have access to new course content that is filled with not just videos, but also downloadable exercises and worksheets that you can bring back to your organization, and also tools. There are 59 tools and counting in the Inclusive Managers Toolkit, really practical tools and really strategic tools that you can use to help you build your own managerial toolkit. I invite you to take a look at the Inclusive Managers Toolkit and to join us. Our spring offering is February 17th, and we will have another offering in fall, and we would absolutely love for you to be part of that. You will also, in addition to all of the online program content, you will have access to a whole lot of other learners, just like you, who are going through their own professional development experience, but in different contexts, who you'll have access to and you can really use as sounding boards and as people to get best practices from and to share best practices with. You will also have access to an all-star cast of expert faculty, myself, but also the Inclusive Managers Toolkit Dream Team faculty, who will be available to you for coaching calls every week and also for live webinars. So we very much would like to have you participate with us in that way, and we look forward to hopefully working with you in the very near future. Last but not least, if you would like to continue looking into our ongoing series, the Inclusive Managers Learning Series, go ahead and check us out at our YouTube channel. It's DJ Consulting. We post new videos every week, so hopefully there's something in there that will meet you where you are and will be helpful to you. And we would absolutely love to hear from you about topics that you'd like to learn more about in the future. We would happily customize our offerings for you. Okay, my friends, thank you so much and have an amazing week, and we will see you again next week. Take care.
All right, we're all set.
Thank you. All righty, I'm gonna log off. I appreciate it. Thanks, Tyler.
All good. Talk to you later.
Bye. Bye.